Man, I've resorted to doing YouTube videos in the car since I do not operate out of a gym anymore. Yeah, I moved my business entirely online, but that's neither here nor there. So, carrying on the tradition of other coaches who speak in cars, I am going to do the same. You'll note that I am parked. I'm not driving because I'm not an idiot. I wouldn't film myself going over a bunch of shit while I'm driving when I could get into an accident, because that's the last thing I need. Look at that, I'm grabbing the oh shit bar. I'm not even scared, I don't know why. But that's the last thing I need, is to get into another accident after having gone through several within the past 6 months. But anyways, we're going to talk today about how to gauge whether your workouts are worth the shit or not. And the one thing we can measure is what we call progressive overload. Now, it's just like it sounds. You're overloading something, you're adding on to something progressively. So we do that with, well, the easiest way to do that are with 3 metrics that we use whenever you're lifting. You have intensity, which is the load, you know, so like, for example, my last deadlift max was 520 pounds. That was 100% balls to the wall intensity, right? So if I were to increase my intensity, it would be greater than 520 pounds, for instance, right? And that's the short answer of it. Within the confines of a workout, it's different in a few different ways. But anyways, that's the easy answer. We got volume, which is the total poundage lifted. So take that 520 pound deadlift I did. I lifted 1 time. My volume is 520 pounds. Or in the confines of a workout, maybe you deadlifted 100 pounds 10 times. Your volume would then be 1,000 pounds if we're talking about the deadlifts. So we got intensity and volume. And then the other one is density. Density is the amount of volume you do within a given time. So if I did 100-pound deadlifts 10 times in 2 minutes on Monday, let's say, and then next Monday I did 100-pound deadlifts 10 times, but this time it took me 1.5 minutes, well, the workout has become more dense because the amount of volume within the amount of time has decreased. And so those are 3 metrics that you can measure whether your workout's working or not. And how do you measure that? Well, if you have a coach, they should be doing that. If you don't, you take a little notebook, little piece of paper, little pen, use your iPhone, notepad, whatever you want. You write down the sets and reps performed along with the load that you used, and you keep track of that, right? You keep track of the rest periods, you keep track of the weights you use, you keep track of the sets, the reps, all that stuff. Add it all up, do your math, etc., etc. And over time, some of these things should be getting better, right? You should be getting either more volume, more density, like your workouts should be taking you less time, or you should be using a little bit heavier weight. And that's a good way to keep track of these things. However, progressive overload is more than just those 3 things. One of my favorite examples of progressive overload is either regaining function that you couldn't, something you couldn't do before, or extending the range of motion greater than what you currently can. So for instance, right, if you have shit mobility and you can't squat below parallel, even though for all intents and purposes you should be able to squat below parallel, if you get to a point where you practice it enough, good quality movement with what you can do, right, so your squats above parallel, you do a bunch of those with good form, you master it, and then all of a sudden you can get lower. That's progressive overload. That, to me, in my opinion, as a guy who's been injured before, and as a guy who's worked with some older people before too, those types of gains are the best gains that you can have. So little things like that you can keep track of as well to monitor whether your workouts are worth a shit. But definitely pay attention to intensity, volume, and density, and write it down, track it, just like you do with your food, hopefully, because what gets measured gets improved, something my coach Frankie always used to say. So track it, track all those things, and look at it from week to week, month to month, and if nothing's improving, chances are your body composition is not improving either. You know what to change, and fucking change it. And if you have any questions or comments, leave a comment. Look at all my websites and shit, and have a great day.